Hey, what's up, guys? Coach Mac, Play Fast Football. All right, today I'm going to do a video on a Dagger Concept route I used to try and run a few years ago, and I think I'm going to go back to it next year, trying to get a high-low with that deep dig by number one. So I'm going to take a little bit of a look at it today. Make sure you check out some of our partners, Dome Hats, which is the headwear company that is a sponsor partner of Play Fast Football. So they make all my Play Fast hats, and then they also make the hats that I use at the high school I'm currently at. Have a custom online hat builder where you can build and generate your own hat. Every hat has a story. You can build your own hat so that you can let Dome help you tell your hat story. Gauge Dried sideline replay system we use. If you're looking for a highly reliable and affordable sideline replay system, we absolutely love it. Never have any issues with it. Baker Sporting Goods provides us with all of our spirit packs, our coaches gear. We get our uniforms through them, so they basically take care of about all of our apparel needs within our program. So check out Baker Sports. All right, JustPlayFB is the digital drawing tool, the diagram tool that I use to draw things on a computer when I'm doing webinars or speaking at clinics or any playbook stuff that I'm doing. I use JustPlay. It's a more powerful way of presenting material to your players, so make sure you check out JustPlay. DifferenceUSA, the ultimate striking machine. I have one in our weight room that we are about to start using in the off season when January comes around. Working on elbows in, thumbs up, hips, violent explosion, eyes, where our target is, where we're trying to get our hands, all the things you need to do to strike. You need to strike at almost every position in football, so I suggest you take a look at DifferenceUSA. HighandTight ball security training aid. It's got different panels that have sensors in them. You have to hold the ball correctly for you to hear the auditory beep, so you have to have the pressure right on the panels where the forearm, bicep, wrist, everything up to the chest, all the points of pressure have to be exactly precise so you hear the beep. If you hear the beep, you know you've got the football in the right position. If you don't hear the beep, there's something wrong with how you're holding the ball. So why not have a ball security training aid that gives you auditory feedback immediately? So talking about the Dagger Concept, all right, it's something you see a lot in the NFL, and it's basically, it's that deep in by number one. All right, at the NFL back in the day, or still now probably sometimes, but this used to be an 18 to 20 yard route, and this used to be a 7-step drop from underneath the center. So as a high school coach, the reason I always kind of shied away from the concept, all right, was the fact that it took a little bit too long to develop. All right, and I wasn't sure if we had the arm strength to throw that type of ball. Could we protect that type of ball with that type of drop? All right, so we adjusted it a little bit. All right, and we tried to make the in route about 14 yards. All right, because what you got to remember is you got to have the in route, the dagger, the deep in. All right, by number one, you got to have that route deep enough to get a high low. All right, on that Mike linebacker or that front side hook curl player, because that's the idea of the play. You're trying to get a high low on somebody. All right, but the beauty of the play is you have a seam read shot built in. All right, so when you look at it, right now I've got it drawn up versus on front, so we're going to go half slide. So the first uncovered lineman is going to start the turn. So the tackle is going to be big on big. Guard's uncovered, he's going to turn. And the guard, center, guard, tackle will create a 4-man slide for the nose, and will, and jack. So the quarterback is taken care of on the backside. On the front side, if I free release the back, we are going to have to hot off of the Mike and the Sam. All right, so whether that hot is something that is the flare out there, whether that hot has to be side adjusted, all right, with some type of in-breaking route by number two. The only thing that I struggle with sometimes with vertical stems is in your protection scheme, if you free release and get 5 out and you have to throw hot, you may have to side adjust some things off of vertical stems, all right, so you may have to teach receivers who's hot in protection, and if they get certain blitzes, come off their route and run some type of slant or an outbreaking route, depending on what the tailback is doing, so that your quarterback has options in the blitz protection. I normally like to have all my hots built in to the route concept, and sometimes I will manipulate route concepts around who the hots are. So a play like the Dagger Concept, 4 verticals, things like that, where guys have more vertical stems, you don't have as many inside breaking hot throws built in, so you're always going to have to figure out a way, all right, to handle that if you want to release 5. If you're worried about pressure and it's only one, all right, of the 2 coming, or somehow, you know, if you're worried about it, you could keep the back in, and you know your back could be double read inside to out, and then he could get out to the flat, he could be double read inside to out, and then maybe he runs, all right, some type of, all right, option route away from the shallow route that's coming there. So you can do that however you want, depending on, all right, what you need to do in protection. So for right now, though, I've got him free release push flare. And the reason for that is I want to stretch that Sam nickel backer out to give me the high-low that I'm looking at. So what we're really trying to do here is we got number 2, all right, on what I call, or most people would call, a seam read. All right, so he's running vertical if the seam is open. If there's grass in the seam, he's going vertical. If the seam is closed, which means the middle of the field is probably open, all right, which the middle of the field is probably open because the seam's closed and it's a 2-eye safety look, now you can build in the ability for him to seam read, all right, and run the bender inside. You're not going to flatten him out because you got the dagger coming behind. Now, sometimes with this play, I will lock the seam and not teach it as a read, simply because if it is a 2-eye structure, I want to get that safety out so that the dagger comes in. Sometimes, if you don't bend this properly here, you're bringing that safety a little bit closer, all right, to the actual dagger route you're trying to throw, the deep in route. So a lot of times on stuff where I build a seam read in, all right, if it's the dagger play like this, sometimes it may be better for me to lock the seam and get that safety the heck out of there so I can throw the dagger, because when you're running this concept, it's nice to have a seam read or a seam option so that if you get one high, it's a viable play, so that it's not a dead play based on certain coverages. So if you got one high, all right, it makes it potentially, depending on where the safety is, especially in 2x2 and the ability of your quarterback, it gives you that seam ball right now. All right, so if you get one high and that seam's open, it gives you the chance to rip the seam. But if that seam's closed, you know that you're trying to basically build a high-low with the dagger route anyways. So I'm going to push the back out here so I can get the stretch, all right, on that Sam linebacker. Now, in 3x1 sometimes, what teams will do, and I see this a lot in the NFL, okay, I've got it drawn up in 2x2, and I'm bringing kind of the shallow cross back that way to create that high-low, all right, and I'm stretching, I'm push flaring the back out, okay, so that I can kind of expand the window of the Sam. Well, sometimes in the NFL, what teams will do is they'll take their best slot receiver, all right, the guy that gives people fits, and they'll do it in 3x1, and they'll have that slot receiver on some type of 5-yard option route where it's an out-breaking route or an in-breaking route, and they'll create the high-low that way. And then depending on, you know, they'll put the back over here, and they'll create some type of game however they want to create it. Maybe they don't run the comeback on the backside now. Maybe they run post over the top, and then they create some type of option route for the back on the backside. So now they have 2 option routes going. All right, so teams will get into 3x1, and instead of the shallow coming across to create the high-low, they'll run some type of option route to their best slot player here, and now they still have to clear out dagger, and now they've got, depending on coverage, they've got their best receiver on 5-yard out, 5-yard in, all right, kind of like, you know, wide juke or the, you know, Haas wide juke stuff, just simple stuff like that. But I'm going to keep it for now in the high school world the way I like to do it, all right, at a 2x2. Just because it's a little bit easier to teach the quarterback, and it's a little bit easier to get him to understand the progressions. And so what are we looking for? We're looking to clear out. If we see too high, we're looking to clear out. Safety, get him out. We're looking for that 14-yard dagger coming inside here, and we're looking to create the high-low on the mic. If the mic drops and gets into the window of the dagger, then we're looking to get the shallow coming back. If the mic doesn't get enough depth, all right, and he can't get to for whatever reason, if he's on the shallow or he can't get to the window or he widens and the window passes him, we're looking for the dagger. So normally we're thinking, all right, that dagger's 1, that shallow's probably 2. Now, this is a deal where we could possibly peak this vertical. So if it is an open seam, we can let that ball rip. So we can probably peak that, and then we're usually going to go, all right, dagger down to, all right, dagger down to the shallow, and then usually back here, this would be some type of alert deal where, depending on maybe the type of skin, so maybe I've got some type of comeback route built in here. Well, maybe there's some type of strong rotation or something that we see, that we get a one-on-one back here with no flat support, all right, maybe for whatever the case may be. This is more of that alert to tell the quarterback, hey, if you get this special scenario, you can go to the comeback on the backside. But in theory, we're thinking about going, all right, 1 dagger, 2 shallow, all right, and then to me, more often than not, the check down or anything else, 3 would be the back, depending on the route that you're running the back on. All right, so I've had some success with this route in the past. I've had a lot of success with it as a coverage type beater or a high-low theory in 7-on-7 stuff when protection wasn't an issue. I've had the quarterbacks that could make that throw. The problem in games is that high-low and that 14-yard deep in route, all right, the dagger route, that's a ball that you have to have time to throw and a clean pocket usually to throw. So I get away from it as a concept at times in the passing game because it's a combination of, can I protect them? All right, do I have the receivers that can get downfield? You know, if I got a kid out here that's a 4'9", 40 guy, and he's running that 14-yard dagger route, I don't know how good that concept is. It takes too long. If my quarterback doesn't have the arm strength, all right, to 3 to possibly 5-step drop from the gun, if he doesn't have the arm strength to throw that 14-yard deep in route, okay, then maybe it's not a good ball. You know, in high school sometimes with the height of the quarterbacks and arm strength and different things going on, sometimes throwing the ball over the middle, I get to times where I put a lot of my passing concepts, all right, outside the tackle box, and I only carry 1 or 2 things that attack the middle of the field simply because I've done research on my own offenses before, and most of our interceptions were thrown between the hash marks in the middle because I think the tallest quarterback I've ever played in my career is maybe, I think I had one kid that was 6'3" one year, and every other quarterback I had was 6'1" or shorter. And in 23 years of coaching football, I would say that I played with 75 to 80% of my quarterbacks were under 6 foot. Okay, so with that being said, it's hard for them to see the things that happen over the middle. It's a lot easier for them to see things that happen out wide. So a concept like this that's going to develop, all right, down the middle of the field with a 14-yard dagger and this shotgun drop, we're now going to be, you know, that's going to become a yardage-wise at least, that's going to become a ball that's going to travel at least 20 to possibly 30 yards depending on where it's thrown, and it's got to be thrown with the right trajectory and some zip in there. So you got to have a kid with the arm strength to do that. You got to have linemen that can protect it. All right, but it's really not a hard thing to read because if the seam read's not there and there's no alert to go backside, it becomes simple high-low triangle type deal. You know, so here's your high-low, here's the triangle you're developing with those 3 routes. There's not a lot to the read. It's a matter of can you throw it, all right, can you protect it? And that's why we've gotten away from it at times. But it gives you that seam ball. All right, and why is that important? Because we're starting to see a little bit more, and maybe if it was this, you know, we're starting to see, and I could do it out of that 3-4, but we're starting to see a little bit more one high stuff. All right, whether it's rip, liz, match, whatever. So we're starting to see structures, all right, that are one high. So now we can alert that seam read. If that seam's open, all right, we have a chance to throw that seam right now. All right, obviously in a Rip Liz world, he would carry us low and outside and make us try and throw that ball in to where the free safety is. But now, because we're seeing one high, it's not a dead play. We have alerted on the seam read. If the seam read's not there, we still have the ability to high-low, all right, the mic as we push the Sam out of the way. So if we push the Sam out of the way, or if he carries, so here's what, you know, like in the Rip Liz world, if he carries the vertical low and outside, he's going to have to carry 3 through. 3 through is now the back. They better have a really good will, okay? They better have a really good will that can cut this crosser coming, and they better be really good at corner because now that window, that's going to become something that is real similar to a man-free concept because that Sam's going to be gone carrying that. The Mike's going to be gone because he's probably going to push with 3 through, and now you get a really nice window in there to try and throw that ball depending on where he is and what he does, but you also get yourself a seam read shot right there. So it could be a shot play. If the middle of the field's open and you build the seam read into a bender, that could be a shot play, all right? It could be a conversion throw on a 3rd down if you can get the right window, all right, here for the 14-yard in, or if they drop, you get the shallow and get it to a guy in space. it gives you the ability to possibly get the back involved, whether you free release them out or check them down and create some type of rub action with the shallow coming in. The back checks down and goes opposite the shallow. There's a lot of different things you can do, a lot of different ways you can do it. All right, I love the concept. I think it's a simple high-low. I think it's a simple read for the quarterback. All right, so I think we're going to go. We have the arm strength to do it this year. Quarterbacks we have are probably in that 5'10" to 6 foot range. So I'm not really sure how much I love what they're going to be able to see from the pocket on a throw like that. But we certainly have the arm strength to do it. We've got the guys out here that I'm not worried about before. We can get to the 14-yard. All right, Dagger out. We've got a couple 10th graders that played for us that we really like. So we're going to be pretty good at the receiver position and pretty solid at the quarterback spot. There's going to be some competition probably at the quarterback spot. So we feel like we've got to add some things maybe to our passing game, and I think that's something. We ran some shallow cross last year that I really, really liked, but I think next year we may kind of fool around in the offseason with the dagger play. I've run it before. I like it. I think it's pretty simple other than the physical tools you need to accomplish it. All right, but mentally, from a read standpoint, I think it's a relatively simple play. I appreciate everything you guys do for PlayFast. Make sure you turn your notifications on so you know every time we do a video. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't been a subscriber so you know when we put content out. Make sure you thumbs up, thumbs down the content so I know what you like and what you don't like. That always helps us taking a look at the likes and even the dislikes. Anything that's thumbs down, I'm going to look at and see. And if a video gets a bunch of thumbs down, I either did a bad job explaining it or the content's not good. Always leave a comment. I respond to every comment that I can see on my end as long as it's not blocked or spam or in a trash folder or something like that. I read every comment that I can see, so make sure you reply to those comments. So I appreciate you guys and everything you do for PlayFast Football. Be safe out there. About 7, 8 days or a week away from Christmas now, so enjoy the holiday season. Stay safe. Remember, you won't play well until you play fast. I'll see you next time.